And Nestor, obviously, he's a Yankees cult hero. Um, Even if he doesn't perform well this year or anything happens, these last two seasons have been absolutely extraordinary from someone who was DFA'd by the Orioles, Yankees, and Mariners in the previous three seasons multiple times, who had a negative 1.5 WAR before being the Yankees swingman in 2021 and putting together a really solid 160 inning season. Got some Cy Young votes last year. Thanks Brian Hoke and a few other voters who saw him, but I don't think those were crazy unjustified. I mean, he had a 2.24 ERA, an xERA of 2.7, accumulated a 3.5 WAR as a starting pitcher in just 160 innings. And this is a guy who's right now, if everyone's healthy, which they're not naturally, is slotted in as our number four, maybe our number three. Um, but has been a reliable arm for us in big spots over the last year. How do you feel about Nestor going into this year?
Well, first of all, have you ever looked at his baseball savant page, all the red that's on there? It's fun. It's like a lot of fun. I mean, despite only throwing what 91 to 93, sometimes he'll top out at 94, 95 if he's feeling really good. Um, he's kind of elite in almost everything. Like his expected batting average is top 85th percentile. Fastball velocity is obviously lower 10th, but like barrel rate top 81. Expected slugging top 86. Fastball spin, that's what he kind of relies on as his bread and butter. Beyond just his varying release points, it's top 67%. This is a dude who knows how to use spin rate to his advantage to make the ball deceive the batter in a way that it's looking like it's 99 to 100 right at the eyes when it's really 93, 94 right at the eyes. But then he has 3, 4 other pitches that he can throw off of that, as well as different arm slots. This is a guy who fully knows his body. He's probably the most self-aware pitcher that I've ever seen on a mound. The way that he's able to balance, like you've been on a mound before. It's very difficult to hold those types of positions as long as he does, and it's not going to affect him with the new rules. Like that's the kind of crazy thing about it is he's like all of the moves that he makes are legal. So he's going to be able to deceive batters as much as he wants to. I'm really excited. I think that we might see a little bit of regression with the ERA, and that's completely okay if he's like still like I think that 2.8 to 3.2, 3.3 is like completely valid, in terms of something that we can see, and it's still something to be excited about. But the fact that he gave us 160 innings last season was huge. And if he's anywhere around that, that's a massive win because that means not only he's healthy, but likely the other pitchers stay healthy as well. Like if you have him as a number 4 or a 5, that's an insane line. That's an insane rotation to work with. Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, and Nestor going into last year was someone who we had concerns with how many innings can you give him? Because he came from being a reliever and he hadn't had a full MLB season of starting pitching. We got to the end of last year, he threw 160 innings with a little bit, tiny bits of injuries like 15-day IL for pitcher here and there. Still got that's a full season as a starting pitcher. Pitched game 5 of the ALDS on short rest and gave 5 innings when people thought he'd give 3. Um, you expect Nestor to be this crafty, low velo guy, and he's really not that. Like relative to the new age of baseball, sure, he sits 95, 94, 95 on the fastball. And like you said on his baseball savant page, those metrics that are in red are results metrics. Like he's not going to sit in the top 10 in fastball velocity or in RPM necessarily, but he does have highly efficient spin for his speed. He's missing barrels. He gives up less than a homer per 9 innings, which is elite at the starting pitcher level. Especially from someone who you think might have a loopy curveball or a fastball that just kind of sits there. It's really not the case with Nestor. He delivers. He's gonna give some scale, and if this year that becomes 130 innings, that becomes a 3.3 ERA. I think that's a natural regression that it's okay if we see, but he's not going to fall off a cliff because similar to Rodon, he's put together back-to-back years of being really reliable with his stuff and something that hitters can't figure out. Like the tape is out on him, and Nestor is a bona fide stud, really.
So this is the line that Baseball Reference projects for him, which keep in mind they're always pretty conservative with their projections. 8-5 record. I don't really care about that. 3.02 ERA, 143 innings pitched, 146 strikeouts, so more than 9 Ks per nine, 1.063 WHIP, which is that's amazing considering like he was a .9 last season. They don't really see that much regression, so that I think that they're very onto something right there. You have to respect the
And
tools that
that's
he's
with 70% confidence too, which
with
is very high.
70% confidence, and he's already in the top 72% of strikeout rate in the entire league. So this is a guy that's I think only going to strike out more people this season than he ever has before in his career because he's what 28 years old at this rate. He's not an old dude who's got just crafty lefty stuff going on. He is a younger guy that's only going to learn more as he stays on the mound. And he's also just a clubhouse personality that I think is going to invigorate this team to perform better and better every time he's out there.
Yeah, totally. And I'm excited for Nestor. And if everyone's healthy, he's our number 4, and he's the best number 4 in MLB, and it's not close. With Rodon down, he's our number 3 or our number 2, and he's amongst the top in both of those categories.